The human named Ethan Vale had been in space for only 6 months, but he already knew one thing. Aliens were not what he had expected. The stories from old Earth movies made them seem cold and logical, but the people of the Varine Empire were anything but. They were emotional, proud, and beautiful in a strange way, with shimmering skin that caught the light like fine glass and eyes that reflected stars. Ethan had joined the United Terran Exploration Corps as an engineer. His job was simple: repair the energy cores that powered diplomatic ships and make sure no one died in deep space because of bad wiring. He was good at what he did, though he never thought his work would one day bring him face to face with a princess. The Vahran flagship, Ilaris, arrived at the Terran orbital station for a peace exchange. Humans and Varian had fought a short war 50 years ago, and now both sides tried to build trust again. The princess came as a symbol of peace, a young royal who wanted to understand humans better. Her name was Princess Sirian Varin, and she was nothing like the stiff diplomats Ethan had met before. When she first stepped onto the station, everyone froze. Her long silver hair floated like mist in the station's air, and her eyes glowed faintly blue. She moved with grace, but when she smiled, it wasn't proud or distant. It was curious. Ethan was part of the small team assigned to maintain her living quarters and ensure the ship's systems were safe for her stay. He thought he'd never even speak to her. But space had other plans. It started one night when the station's gravity regulators malfunctioned. The whole residential wing lost heat and power for a few hours. Most guests had assistants and guards who quickly set up portable shelters. But the princess's quarters suffered a full system blackout. Ethan was called to fix it. When he entered the room, the lights were dead and the air was cold enough to see his breath. Sarai stood near the window, wrapped in a thin silver robe that did little to hide her shivering. "You came alone?" she asked softly, her voice carrying an echo that humans couldn't imitate. "Someone has to fix the core," Ethan replied with a small grin, "and my team's stuck restarting the main grid. I'll have you warm again in no time." He knelt by the power console and began to work. Sparks flew and the emergency light bathed the room in pale red. Behind him, the princess sat quietly, watching him with interest. "You humans are strange," she said after a while. "You speak so casually, even to royalty." Ethan chuckled. "We stopped doing the bowing thing a few hundred years ago. I figured your people prefer honesty over formality." Her lips curved into a small smile. "Honesty is rare among diplomats. I find it refreshing." The repair took longer than expected. The station's backup cores were overloaded, and Ethan realized it might be hours before the heat returned. The temperature kept dropping. He glanced at the princess, who now hugged her knees, trembling slightly. "Your species handles cold worse than ours, doesn't it?" She nodded. "Our homeworld is close to our star. Warm, always warm." Ethan took off his thick jacket and offered it. "Here, it's insulated." She looked at it, surprised. "You'd freeze," he shrugged. "I've camped on Mars, this is nothing." Reluctantly, she accepted it and wrapped herself in the oversized jacket. It was much too large for her, and the sight almost made Ethan laugh. "You look good in human fashion," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "Are all human engineers this bold?" "Only the sleep-deprived ones," he replied, tightening a bolt with a grin. Hours passed. The room grew darker as the emergency lights flickered. Ethan finally managed to reroute power, but the heating system was still down. He calculated it would take at least 3 hours to restart the fusion array. He sighed and slumped to the floor. "You should rest," Sarai said gently. "You've done enough." "Can't," he muttered. "If I stop now, the air processors might freeze." The princess hesitated. Then she said quietly, "Humans share heat, do they not? Skin contact increases warmth." Ethan looked up, startled. "Yeah, it helps." "Then share your bed with me," she said simply. He blinked. "Wait, what?" She gestured to the narrow rest pod built into the wall. "It's large enough for 2, and if we sleep together, we'll conserve body heat. It's practical, is it not?" Ethan rubbed the back of his neck, face flushing. "Yeah, practical. Very practical," she tilted her head. "Are you embarrassed?" "Only a little. We usually don't do this with alien royalty," she smiled faintly. "Then consider it a royal order. Human engineer Ethan Vale." They lay side by side under the emergency blanket, their breaths misting in the cold air. Ethan kept perfectly still, aware of the faint glow from her skin. Her warmth slowly spread through the blanket, soft and even. For a long time, neither spoke. The hum of the station filled the silence. Finally, she whispered, "Your heartbeat is loud." "Humans have small bodies but strong hearts," he said with a chuckle. "It's comforting," she said softly, "like the rhythm of a star engine." He smiled in the dark. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever called my heartbeat." As the hours passed, Sarai asked him questions about Earth, about oceans, about what rain felt like on skin. Ethan told her stories of thunder and storms, of children running through puddles, of the smell of wet soil. Her eyes widened with wonder. "Our worlds have no rain," she murmured, "only endless light and glass fields. I cannot imagine the sky weeping." He turned slightly to face her. "If this peace thing works, maybe you'll visit Earth one day. I'll show you real clouds." Her expression softened. "And you? Would you come to Varin?" "Sure," he said. "If they don't throw me in a dungeon for sleeping next to their princess." A quiet laugh escaped her lips, a sound like soft chimes. "You are strange, human, strange and brave." Ethan shrugged. "It's what we do best." Morning came with the hiss of restored power. The room filled with warmth again, and the emergency lights blinked out. Ethan sat up, stretching his arms. "Told you I'd fix it." Sarai sat beside him, still wrapped in his jacket. For a moment, neither of them moved. There was a silence that felt heavy but not uncomfortable. She finally spoke, her voice soft. "Ethan Vale last night." "Thank you," he smiled. "Just doing my job, Your Highness." But as he gathered his tools, she stopped him with a touch on his arm. Her fingers were warm now, steady. "Still," she said, "I will remember it. A princess of Varin does not forget the human who shared his warmth." Ethan met her glowing eyes and felt something shift inside him. A small spark that no cold could ever freeze. That day, the story spread among the crew. The engineers laughed, calling him the princess's space heater. Ethan tried to ignore them, but every time he walked past the royal wing, he could feel her gaze from afar. She never said anything in public, but sometimes when their eyes met across the corridors, she would give a small, knowing smile, the kind that made his heart beat just a bit faster. And though he tried to focus on his work, Ethan found himself thinking about that night. The warmth, the quiet laughter, the feeling of her heartbeat next to his. He told himself it was just an accident of circumstance, just a moment in the cold, but deep down he knew something had changed for both of them. Somewhere between the stars and the silence, an alien princess had started thinking about a human. And that human couldn't stop thinking about her either. Since the night of the blackout, Princess Sarai Varin had found herself distracted. She attended council meetings, spoke with ambassadors, and carried the grace expected of a royal, yet her thoughts kept drifting back to one human, Ethan Vale. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered his heartbeat. It had been steady, strong, and strangely comforting. She had never been so close to a human before. Her people considered physical contact sacred, a symbol of unity and trust, and she had shared that closeness not with a noble or general but with a simple engineer. Her advisors would call it improper. Her father, the emperor, might even consider it shameful. Yet Sarai didn't feel shame. She felt curious, drawn, changed. Ethan, meanwhile, was having his own problems. After the blackout incident, the story had spread through the station faster than light-speed gossip. Every time he entered the mess hall, someone grinned or winked. "Morning, Your Majesty's favorite engineer," teased his friend Kai, slapping him on the shoulder. Ethan rolled his eyes. "Drop it, Kai, it wasn't like that." "Sure," Kai said, smirking. "You just happened to share your bed with a princess for scientific reasons." Ethan groaned. It was freezing. "I was saving her life." Right, Kai said, laughing. "Just don't let her alien boyfriend hear about it." "She doesn't have one," Ethan muttered without thinking, then instantly regretted saying it. Kai's eyebrows rose. "Oh, you sound awfully confident about that, buddy." Ethan turned back to his food, hiding his blush. "Just drop it." A few days later, Ethan was called for a maintenance check on the Varin's diplomatic chamber. When he arrived, the princess was already there, speaking with human diplomats. Her voice was calm, precise, but when her eyes met his across the room, there was a flicker of warmth, quick and private. He tried to focus on the control panels, but her presence filled the space like soft gravity, Every word she spoke carried confidence, yet he noticed how she sometimes glanced his way. After the meeting, she approached him quietly. "Engineer Vale," she said formally. "A word if you have time." He straightened, pretending calm. "Of course, Your Highness." "Walk with me," she said. They moved through the observation corridor. Stars glimmered beyond the glass walls, the endless black of space stretching forever. After a moment, she spoke softly. "I have not thanked you properly for that night." "You already did," Ethan replied. "You didn't freeze, that's thanks enough." Her lips curved faintly. "Still, I owe you a debt. In my culture, sharing warmth is a sacred bond. It means trust between souls." Ethan hesitated. "So, what does that make us?" She looked out at the stars. "Something my people would not understand." He smiled slightly. "Don't worry. My people don't understand most of what I do either." Their quiet friendship grew in secret. They met during maintenance rounds or between her briefings. Sometimes they shared tea in the hydroponic garden, surrounded by glowing alien plants. Other times they simply sat in silence, looking out at the drifting nebula beyond the station. Ethan told her about life on Earth, about crowded cities, music festivals, and oceans that stretched beyond sight. Sarai listened like a child hearing stories of magic. In return, she spoke of Varan, of crystal towers, light-born cities and ancient songs that could shape metal itself. But not everyone approved of their growing closeness. One day, while Ethan worked on the coolant conduits near the royal wing, he heard a cold voice behind him. "You should not be here, human." Ethan turned. It was Commander Thalir, captain of the princess's royal guard, a tall, imposing Varine whose armor shimmered like mercury. His glowing eyes narrowed. "Just fixing a leak," Ethan said carefully. "The princess's safety is not your concern," Thalir said sharply. "She is the heart of our empire. You are..." "A mechanic," Ethan's jaw tightened. "I'm also the reason your systems don't explode." The commander's face darkened. But before he could reply, Sarai entered the corridor. "Thalir," she said firmly. "Stand down." He bowed stiffly. "Your Highness, I said stand down," she repeated. He obeyed, glaring at Ethan before stepping back. Sarai waited until he left, then turned to Ethan. "Forgive him. He means well, but he fears change." Ethan sighed. "I get it. If I were in his place, I'd probably worry too." She studied his face for a moment. "Do you fear me, Ethan Vale?" He met her eyes. Not even a little. Something flickered in her expression. Surprise, then something softer. "You are strange, human. No fear even when it would be wise." Ethan grinned. "Guess that's why humans survive everything the universe throws at them." That night, Sarai stood alone in her chamber, staring out at the stars. Her heart felt conflicted. She admired Ethan's courage, his humor, the warmth he carried in every word. He treated her not as a royal, but as a person. No one else did that. Yet she also knew that such friendship, if discovered, could end badly for both of them. Her people valued honor above all. The Council of Nobles would see her closeness with a human as disgraceful, a weakness that could stain her name forever. And still, she could not stop thinking about him. She remembered the sound of his laughter, the way he looked at the stars like they were old friends, not unreachable gods. He made her wonder what it meant to be alive, not just royal. Meanwhile, trouble was brewing on the station. Human and Varine negotiators had been working on a new peace treaty. But not everyone wanted peace. A small group of extremists, both human and alien, believed the other species could never be trusted. Late one evening, as Ethan walked back from a repair shift, he noticed something strange. A small group of masked figures near the docking bay carrying plasma charges. He ducked behind a crate, watching. They were setting explosives near the Varan ship. His heart raced. If the ship exploded, hundreds could die, including Sarai. Without thinking, he grabbed his comm and called security, then sprinted toward the intruders. "Hey," he shouted. "Drop it!" They turned, startled. One of them fired a shot. Ethan dove for cover as the blast scorched the wall. He threw a wrench, his only weapon, and hit the nearest saboteur square in the mask. The man fell. Ethan lunged forward, tackling another before he could trigger the detonator. Security alarms blared through the station. Within minutes, guards flooded the area. The attackers were captured, but Ethan took a plasma burn on his shoulder before it ended. When he woke in the medbay, Sarai was sitting beside his bed. Her usual calm mask was gone. Her eyes glowed brighter, filled with emotion. "You could have died," she said quietly. Ethan smiled weakly. "Wouldn't be the first dumb thing I've done this week." She frowned. "Do not joke. You saved my people's lives. You saved me." He tried to sit up, but she pressed a gentle hand to his chest. "Rest. I'm fine," he said, wincing. "Just a scratch." "You are reckless," she whispered. "And brave. Guess that's the human package deal," he said with a faint grin. Her expression softened. "Among my people, courage is the highest virtue. I see now why humans are feared and admired in equal measure." Their eyes met, and for a moment, everything else disappeared, the war, the politics, the stars outside. "You risked everything," she said softly. "Why?" Ethan hesitated. "Because I couldn't let you die," her breath caught. "Ethan..." Before she could speak further, the door opened. Commander Thalir entered, face cold as steel. "Your Highness," he said sharply, "you should not be here." Sarai rose slowly.
"He saved your life, Commander."
"Remember that before you speak." Then she turned to Ethan and said quietly, "Rest well, human. We are not finished." As the door closed behind her, Ethan lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. He knew things were about to get complicated. He'd crossed a line, not just between duty and emotion, but between two worlds that barely trusted each other. And yet, he couldn't stop thinking about her. The alien princess who smiled like sunlight through glass. The one who made him believe that maybe, just maybe, humans and aliens weren't so different after all. The days after the sabotage attempt were tense. Security around the station increased tenfold, and every diplomat and crew member was reminded that peace was fragile. Princess Serine Vahrin kept her eyes on Ethan more than usual, though she tried to hide it. She had come to admire his courage, humor, and the strange way he carried warmth even in the cold depths of space. Yet the realities of their positions weighed heavily. The bond between human and princess, if discovered, could provoke scandal, or worse, renewed distrust between their peoples. Ethan, on the other hand, tried to focus on his duties. He repaired systems, monitored energy cores, and trained junior engineers. But every quiet moment, every glance from the princess made his heart race. He had thought the blackout incident was an accident, a fleeting connection, but now he understood it had changed them both. One evening, the station's sensors detected an unknown ship approaching at high speed. Alarms blared, and the station's crew scrambled. It was a Vahrin warship, but its markings were inconsistent with official fleets. Pirates? Kai asked, eyes wide. Or extremists, Ethan said, scanning the readouts. Either way, they're armed and they know how to disable docking ports. The station commander ordered the princess and diplomats to a secure chamber. Ethan volunteered to assist in defense. Sarai watched him as he suited up. "Ethan, it's dangerous." "I know," he said, fastening his helmet. "But someone has to protect you and our people." Her eyes glimmered with worry. "You humans..." "Always rushing into fire," he smiled faintly. "Someone has to keep the universe from burning, Princess." The attackers struck swiftly. Their ship fired energy pulses that damaged the station's hull. Explosions rocked corridors, lights flickered, and alarms echoed like thunder. Ethan and a small team of engineers and security officers moved through the maintenance shafts, attempting to restore damaged systems while avoiding enemy fire. Sparks flew and smoke filled the air, but Ethan never faltered. At one critical moment, an alien soldier blocked a narrow passage, plasma weapon raised. Ethan acted instinctively, diving, rolling, and using his wrench to knock the weapon aside. The soldier snarled but fell back, surprised by human agility and daring. In the chaos, Sarai monitored the station from her command room. She saw Ethan risking himself at every turn. Her chest tightened, not with fear alone, but with admiration. Ethan reached the reactor chamber where an enemy saboteur was attempting to overload the fusion core. He glanced at the controls. If the core blew, the station would be destroyed, and hundreds of lives lost. "Not today," he muttered. With calm precision, he rerouted power lines, disconnected the sabotager's device, and secured the core. Sparks flew and an energy pulse knocked him backward, but he landed on his feet. He looked up just as the saboteur lunged toward him. But a sudden blast from security officers sent the intruder flying into containment. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "Guess humans are handy in tight spaces," he said under his breath, voice shaking but proud. Meanwhile, Sarai had made her decision. She left her command chamber quietly, moving through maintenance corridors to where she knew Ethan would be. "Princess," one officer exclaimed. "I go where the risk is," she replied simply. "I do not cower behind walls while our people fight." She found him near the reactor, bruised and sweaty but smiling faintly. "You shouldn't be here," Ethan said, concern in his voice, "and yet I am," she said, "because I cannot stay away. You are reckless and brave and human." For a long moment they simply stared at each other. Around them the hum of the reactor and distant alarms made the universe feel impossibly vast, and yet impossibly small. Just the two of them. The fight ended within the hour. Security teams regained control, the attackers were captured, and the station sustained only minor damage. Still, the incident had shaken everyone. Afterward, Sarai invited Ethan to the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass walls, and for the first time in weeks the station was quiet. "You did well," she said softly. "You saved lives today." "I just did what anyone would do," he said humbly. "Not anyone," she said. "You acted with courage, foresight, and heart. My people will remember, and so will I." Ethan smiled faintly, but his eyes were serious. "I didn't do it for fame, Princess. I did it because it was the right thing." Sarai studied him, her blue eyes reflecting starlight. "That is very human. I am beginning to understand why your species survives and thrives. You risk, you fight, you care, you are extraordinary." Ethan's heart thumped. "Extraordinary, huh? I'll take it," she laughed softly. "And yet ordinary humans would have fled or hidden. You do not." That night they finally had a moment alone. Ethan repaired minor systems while Sarai stood nearby watching. She spoke of her world, her people, and the responsibility she carried as princess. He listened, offering words of encouragement and humor. "I wish your people could see you the way I do," Ethan said. "They would not understand," Sarai replied. "Our ways are rigid, yet I do not care. I care only that I know you, that I trust you, that I feel warmth in your presence." Ethan's chest tightened. "Princess Sarai, Before he could finish, an alarm sounded, a minor hull breach in a secondary compartment. They worked together seamlessly, sealing the breach in minutes. Afterward, Sarai turned to him, breathless. You are remarkable, not just for your skill, but for your heart. You see what others cannot." Ethan smiled, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. True connection. "You see it too. That's why this works, even if the universe doesn't understand us." Her eyes softened and she reached for his hand. "The universe may not understand Ethan Vale, but I do, and that is enough for me." Over the following days, their bond became undeniable. They trained together in zero-gravity exercises, laughed over human food experiments, and shared quiet moments watching stars drift past the station. Each knew the consequences of discovery, yet neither cared. The station crew noticed the change. Whispers spread, but no one dared challenge the princess. Meanwhile, the Council of Vahri nobles had taken notice as well. Rumors of human-princess interactions reached them. Some were outraged. Others quietly admired her boldness. The emperor, observing from afar, remained silent, curious rather than angry. The final test came during the peace treaty ceremony. Representatives of both species gathered, cameras broadcasting across sectors. The extremists who had attacked earlier attempted a diplomatic disruption. They planned to release propaganda and sabotage the negotiations. Ethan, forewarned by intelligence, coordinated with Sarai security to prevent chaos. Together they neutralized the threat, foiling the extremists' plan without anyone being harmed. During the tense moments, Sarai looked at him with unspoken gratitude. Ethan, injured slightly but resolute, gave her a small nod. They understood each other completely, no words needed. After the ceremony, Sarai approached the human delegation alone. Her voice rang clearly, commanding respect. "I am Princess Sarai Varin," she said, eyes fixed on every diplomat. "Peace is not fragile because of us. It is strong because courage and trust exist in every heart, human and alien alike. Today, one human reminded me that even across worlds, bravery and warmth define us. Never forget that," whispers filled the hall. Every human present understood her meaning. Ethan felt a warm pressure in his chest. She had acknowledged him publicly, but without shame, without fear. Later, under the quiet starlight, Sarai and Ethan stood on the observation deck. "You saved more than lives today," she said softly. "You saved hope, and you saved me," Ethan replied. Not from danger, but from forgetting what it feels like to care. Truly, she smiled, glowing faintly in the starlight. Then perhaps, some bonds are beyond rules, some hearts belong across worlds. He took her hand, holding it firmly but gently. Across stars, across politics, across anything, they're ours. She nodded, eyes bright with emotion. Yours, Ethan Vale. Always yours, in trust and warmth. The station drifted silently among the stars, carrying the promise of peace, courage, and human resilience. For Ethan and Sarai, the universe had shifted. One human engineer and one alien princess had shown that connection. Bravery and warmth could transcend species and even the cold, infinite darkness of space. And as they stood together, looking at distant worlds, both knew one truth. Humans could survive, thrive, and inspire, not just through strength, but through heart, somewhere between two worlds. A human and a princess had begun something extraordinary, and the universe would never be the same again.